كتاب الله دستوري
وَظَلَّلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامَ. Still Allah is mentioning some of the blessings which He has given to Bani Israel. وَظَلَّلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامَ, and we gave you the shade of clouds. وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى, and we sent down to you manna and quails. This happened when Banu Israel were in the wilderness. Banu Israel, when they were rescued from Pharaoh and his army and moved to Sinai, they were instructed by Allah to go and fight at the Bayt al-Maqdis or another city or town, and they refused. They said to Musa and Harun, idhab anta wa rabbuka faqatila inna hahuna qa'idun. You go, O Moses and Aaron, and fight with your Lord, and we will wait here. Once you win, then we will enter the town. They were not prepared to fight the jihad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them by making them wander in the desert for 40 years until that generation die and a new generation comes which will be much more determined and ready to fight the jihad. Because this generation has been in Egypt and has been actually used to be enslaved and all that. So when they were in the desert, Allah was giving them a cloud. Some say that the shade, so that it is fairly cold. Even though they are at the desert, Allah is protecting them from the heat of the sun. And there's no food in the desert. So Allah gave them manna wa salwa. Manna is something like honey, which comes down from the sky in the morning and remains until sun rises. And then people were able to collect it, reserve it for a day, and consume it. If you leave it for much more than one day, it will get spoiled. Except on Friday, they could reserve it and use it for Saturday, because Saturday the Banu Israel were punished in that they were not allowed to do anything. That is manna. Salwa are quails, certain type of birds. They will come from the sky and they will drop down, and the Banu Israel will catch them and actually eat them. So they were given meat of the birds, which is one of the best meats and has highest protein. And it is the meat which is mentioned so much in the Qur'an, وَلَحْمِ طَيْرٍ مِمَّا يَشْتَهُونَ, that people in the Jannah will get the meat of the birds which they will be desiring to have. So Banu Israel were given those blessings. كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. They were told, eat min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, of the good things we have provided you. Kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum wa ma zalamuna walakin kanu anfusahum yadhlimun. But they rebelled to us. They did not, we did not harm them, but they themselves harmed themselves by not following the instructions of Allah. وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا, they didn't harm us, وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ, but because of disobeying the rules of Allah, they were harming themselves. If you don't practice what Allah has instructed you, you cannot harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah does not benefit from us either praying or fasting or doing other type of ibadah. Neither is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala getting harmed by any bad things we do. Whatever good things you do, it is for your own good. You will be rewarded in this world and much more in the next world. Whatever things you abstain yourself which are not good, you are protecting yourself and you are doing something good to yourself so that you get the rewards in the hereafter. That is the message which is being mentioned here. Because Allah in a certain hadith al-Qudsi says the following. He says, Ya ibadi, O my servants, لو أن أولكم وآخركم, if the people who came from the very beginning of this world and people who will keep on coming until the end of the world, وإنسكم وجنكم, and all mankind and all the jinns, كانوا على أفجر قلب رجل منكم, they were just like the heart of the worst individual, a criminal, so to say. لم ينقص ذلك من ملكي شيئا. That will not reduce my kingdom in any way. So, however bad you react and you behave, you are just harming yourself, you cannot harm Allah. However good you behave, you are not going to benefit Allah, you will benefit yourself. In this ayah, the benefit we get out of it, كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. We have been instructed to consume, to eat the good things. So eating something good does not reduce your piety. It is not actually just to be taqi, to be very pious, that you abstain yourself from eating something which is good. What you are instructed to abstain from is extravagance, israf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another verse in the Qur'an, Ya bani Adam khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. O the children of Adam, khudhu zinatakum, take all your ornaments or dress in the best way when you go to the mosque. Wakulu washrabu, eat the good things which you are allowed, drink the good drinks which you are allowed. Wala tusrifu, but do not be extravagant. Innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. Allah does not like the extravagant people. So the benefit we get from the verse we read earlier, kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, and this verse is that if we are instructed to put on the best clothes when we come to the mosque, and we know that there are 5 prayers in a day, it means all the time you are needed to be well dressed. If you are told to eat well and drink also nicely, you are told that you can also benefit out of that. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ. Say, who is the one actually who forbids zina, anything which is beautiful, which is good, which Allah has provided to His servants? He said, وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ, and the best rizq, the best provision, the best type of food. قُلْ هِيَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Say that these things which are good are for the believers in this world. خَالِصَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Of course, the verse doesn't explain the details. These good things are meant to be for the good people in this world, plus the non-believers. But khalisatan, they are exclusively for the believers in the next world. In other words, in the next world, it is only the believers who believed in Allah, who practice His religion properly, who enter paradise, that they will be able to enjoy themselves and have good things. But the non-believers will not. But in this world, you can have good things whether you are a believer or not. That is what the verse is trying to explain. And there is a hadith where Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna Allah yuhibbu an yara athara ni'matihi ala abdi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes to see part of the blessings of Allah which He has given him in Himself. That is, if Allah has given you some wealth, dress well. If Allah has given you quite a lot of wealth, eat well, and make your family also eat well. I think I will just summarize where we have reached, so that in our next Dars we go to another verse, and briefly the lessons we got from this verse is that Allah was talking to Bani Israel that they have been blessed by so many things, including being looked after by Allah in the desert for so many years. Where there is a lot of heat, they were given the shade, the clouds. Where they had no food to eat, they were given free food. And among the very good food, something which looks like honey, and also the meat of the birds. And remember, I said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the meat of birds in the Jannah, that among the meats which people will be provided with is meat of the birds. Inshallah, we will stop there and continue on the verse وَإِذْ قُلْنَا ادْخُلُوا هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ, that we are talking the story about when Banu Israel were told, now you can enter the city, which actually they have been forced out without even having any fight, because initially they were told that 40 years earlier and they refused, and then they were given very simple instructions to obey them, that enter that city this way, say these words, and they entered the city arrogantly by saying different words other than the one they were told. They were told to enter sujada, prostrating, but they went to the city backward from their, dragging their buttocks, showing how arrogant majority of them were. And if you compare, and inshallah in our next lecture we will try to compare how were the Sahabat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how much law-abiding they were, compare in most cases to Bani Israel, how much they were prepared to go to jihad, even if their number is so small. Remember in the battle of Badr, where the Muslims were just 314, and the non-believers, the Quraysh, were about 1,000, and they went out not for a fight of jihad, they went out in order to have the caravan of Abi Sufyan, but then ultimately these people came from Mecca to protect their caravan, and a fight had to be there. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the Sahaba, we came for the caravan, but now we're fighting these people, give me your right, your opinion. And all of them, specifically Ansar, they said, we are not telling you like what Banu Israel told Musa and Harun, idhab anta wa rabbuka faqatila inna hahuna qa'idun. You go and your Lord and fight, the two of you, the two messengers. We are here sitting, but we are telling you, idhab anta wa rabbuka faqatila inna ma'akuma muqatilun. You go with your Lord and fight these people, and we are together with you fighting. And they fought so many battles of jihad and won those battles, and that is how Islam was established, because the Sahaba were people who sacrificed everything of theirs, and you cannot compare with any other ummah the way the Sahaba, the Rasul, the companion of the Prophet, tried to serve the messenger and serve this deen until it reaches the way it is. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
كتاب الله دستوري